Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994 I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life. I ended up doing 24 years straight in the California prison system. During that time, I accumulated some good stories as well as some good insight on the nature of the California prisons. So in the event you happen to like this story, then definitely be sure to hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my page, subscribe to my page, hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP. And you can hop on that thing whenever you're ready. Now, with all that being said, let's hop right into this story, or actually this topic. Now, this is the topic right here of cheek busting. Actually, that's a term that I don't even believe I ever even heard during any time of the period of my incarceration. I believe that's a term that a lot of YouTubers have used to sensationalize this topic and get more views. And possibly also it's a term that won't be flagged by YouTube, and they can be more likely to have their videos monetized. A lot of people, will leave comments that assuming that anybody who's done a considerable amount of time, they've either busted someone's cheeks or had their cheeks busted, which is very far from the truth. In my opinion, I would only think that maybe 10 to 15% of the whole population, whole prison population, partakes in that type of activity. And here's a big reason why, in my opinion, as far as the California prison system goes. Keep in mind, the California prison system is made up of gangs. You got your Hispanic gangs up north, down south. You got your white gangs. You got the Asians or the others. Their gangs consist of the Asians. Cambodians, the Hmong, Laos, Japanese, North Korean, Samoans, the Tongans, things of that nature. Then also you got your Crips and your Bloods. Within those two structures, there's several smaller factions, and then you have your brothers from up north, Northern California, Oakland, San Francisco, up in those areas. And then also you have brothers from Northern Cali, Sacramento, around that area. And so my point is saying this to say that most gangs were made with the intended purpose to stop members of their gang from being victimized by other people. So most gangs are not going to allow people from their gang to be victimized and assaulted, especially in a sexual nature. It's definitely going to lead to a stabbing and a killing, more than likely. And so now, not to say that it doesn't happen, but I have seen gangs prey on their own, but most times those dudes being preyed upon wasn't gang members when they entered the California prison system. Just due to the nature of prison, they became fearful and felt the need to join the gang. And in the event, unfortunately for them, whoever they happened to went to preyed upon them in a sexual nature. Like I say, I have seen that happen a couple times. Not to say that sexual assaults don't happen, but for the whole 24 years I was down, I only heard of it happening 2 times. Both times happened to be at Ironwood. One was on B Yard. And both times, the individuals in that type of allegations were cellies. The first time, it was a brother on B Yard who happened to be, he was a Muslim at the time, but he was a former Blood. He was well respected for his character and his knowledge. And he would, from time to time, come to the yard. He would give these speeches, pro-black speeches. Sometimes they were speeches on religion or what have you, trying to just educate others and encourage others to possibly find religion. At some point in time, on one particular day, he was being brought across the yard. He was handcuffed, due to his nature and his demeanor. People was asking him, hey man, what's happening? What's going on? Because like I say, he was always seemingly doing positive things. The first thing he hollered was, it was consensual. It was consensual. And then a couple minutes later, his cellie was brought out. He was handcuffed as well. His cellie was saying he raped me or whatever. And so they was taken to the hole. I never seen him again. Though I did hear that the Muslim brother had went back to gangbanging once he got out, and he was wreaking havoc actually on his neighborhood and had sexually assaulted some of his younger homeboys. I don't know that to be true or not. That's what I heard. Also, going to the other one that I heard about, it was in Ironwood, and it was on A Yard. Dude, he was about 50, in his late 50s, early 60s. He was in a cell with a smaller individual, maybe about 5'5", 5'6", maybe 140 pounds at the most. Now, this dude wasn't a flaming homosexual, but he definitely had some feminine ways and characteristics. And my opinion was, at the time, why is this dude even in the cell? Because the other dude, I was an acquaintance with. And so why is this dude even in the cell with that dude when, in my opinion, he definitely was, possibly a homosexual, more likely than not. So anyway, one day, the older dude, he gets handcuffed and took to the hole, and it was alleged by the other dude that he was in there trying to rape him. I end up running across the older dude several years later at another prison. He said no, he had just beat the dude up, and the dude lied and wanted him out of the cell. So that's what he came up with. Who knows and who's to say? Now, another time I was at Ironwood on C Yard with an individual, and I'll just call him Super Crip. This dude was from Long Beach. And the reason why I call him Super Crip is because he was really extra out in his gangbanging. He acted like he was the ultimate Crip in the way he acted, the way he talked. He was always, trying to start trouble and this and that. So, like I say, prison is a place where people are basically chasing a reputation, and they're concerned with how they're perceived by others. Some things they do and they don't do depending on what they feel will be the reaction of their peers. So now Super Crip, I believe that if someone had told him, man, listen, man, in 10 years, you're going to be in a relationship with a homosexual, he probably would have tried to punch their lights out. But that's just what happened, and it was a shock for me. So I got to another prison. I was at CMC East. I was on A Yard. Super Crip was on C Yard. Come to find out, he was involved in a full-fledged homosexual relationship. I mean, he was going through it. They was over there having domestic disputes and everything. He'd beat his lover up. They'd go to the hole, get out, move back in the cell with each other. This happened several times, according to some of the dudes over there. And they say he'd walk his lover to work in the morning, and when they get to the gate, because his lover had to leave the yard to go to the to wherever his working was, Super Crip would give him a big old kiss like Fred Flintstone used to kiss Wilma in the morning. So, it all just depends on the individual. And like I say, to the majority of people who I seen engaging in these homosexual activities, they didn't have life. I'm racking my brain here trying to think if I can remember of a lifer who I did know who was messing with homosexuals. And right now, off the top of my head, I can't. Like I say, I knew several dudes, because I'm not saying it don't happen. I'm just saying that the sexual assault aspect doesn't happen, as nowhere near as much as people who haven't been to prison would like to think that it happens. When I first got to prison in 1996, all the conjugal visits were removed from anybody who was a lifer. So if you had life, you were no longer eligible for a family visit. I happen to know this individual in Ironwood. This dude didn't have life. He only had 3 or 4 years. He was married, going on conjugal visits, and also living in the cell with a homosexual. Now, anytime a person is in prison and he's black, or probably for any race for that matter, but especially black, they don't, they're not going to make you not, mess with this homosexual, but you will definitely be ostracized more times than not from your homeboys and stuff. That's something that's deeply frowned upon, and in most instances, you will have people from your particular gang or area, they will call back and let everybody else in the free world know what you're doing. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why are they doing that? That's not their business. But here's the reason. We have female friends, cousins, sisters, nieces, mothers out there that we don't want them to potentially risk getting a disease from a person who's engaging in this type of activity, and he's not being honest about it when he gets home. And so, I had a story where I done where JoJo, a dude who I was doing time would happen to come to his cell, and he opened the door, and this cellie was in a compromising position with another man. So of course he went back and told everybody on the yard, or told individuals on the yard, and it spread. Some people commented that he was wrong for doing that. But in my opinion, those two individuals who wanted to do these type of activities, they should have just moved in a cell together. And then they could have done what they done in the dark, and nobody would have known about it. So the next day after this story, I mean, when I told, when the story that I told about JoJo, the very next day after he caught these dudes, they happened to come out and they both jumped him and attacked him. And that was because they was shamed. It was out of shame. They was embarrassed, and they didn't want to be known, that they was engaging in that type of activity. But like I say, a lot of individuals think that people are just going in prison. You got these big old strong characters, and they're just running through prison raping people. Now, who knows? It may have been like that back before I entered the system in 1996. But once I got there, it wasn't nothing like that. Like I say, I may have heard a couple times some dudes, maybe ran in a person's cell, took some of their property, and since the dude was a non-affiliate, they forced the dude to, perform a sexual act or something like that. But like I say, for the most part, it doesn't, it doesn't happen to the level of people who haven't been to prison think it is. It's not widespread at all. Right before I left prison, maybe about 2016, CDC started passing out these little memos and stuff saying no means no, and yes is not allowed. You know what I'm saying? So that was their feelings on men engaging in sex. But in stark contrast, right before I left in 2018, they started making condoms available to the general population. So if you're saying no means no and yes is not allowed, why are you passing out condoms? But I guess the reason was behind it that even though they tell people no, people gonna do what they gonna do, and so at least try to make some type of safety net available to those who want to, who want that option or whatever. So I just want people to, just keep in mind, man, that prison is not necessarily like other people make it. Sometimes it's a lot of myths. It's a lot of stuff that people will say to make prison seem worse than it is in some aspects. Or you got these movies and stuff, and then people get stuck with that idea in their head, and they think that that's what it's like. You have a lot of people who don't partake in homosexual activities for one reason, the same reason I didn't partake in it when I was in there, because I'm not gay. People got to understand that, man. Just because you go to prison, doesn't turn you gay. In the event you do go to prison and you start participating in gay behavior, in my opinion, you was already gay. It just took the right situation to bring it about you. So, like I say, man, don't believe all the rumors that people be talking about cheek busting and all that stuff. People just running around raping people, because it's definitely not like that, man. You have more dudes in there doing extremely long sentences who don't turn to that type of activity than you do with people who only got short sentences. Like I say, I did see, it's not like it doesn't happen. I'm talking about people partaking in homosexuality. I'm not necessarily talking about people sexually assaulting people, but for the people who I did see who partaked in it, they didn't have life, so that's how it is, man. I'm just giving y'all a little information on this, so people will stop being so misinformed, and thinking that prison is something that is not, But like I said, maybe it was like that back in the old days. But anyway, you already know what it is, man. It's your boy 16 to life, man. Y'all definitely stay safe and resume normal program.